Must we encourage more AI? Must we?
We must.
I think it's artificial integrity, not artificial. Welcome on, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another live stream with my dear friend David Chernick and myself, Gareth Wax, of the Many Purple Hats. And today we are doubling down on previous incidents where we've mentioned those fateful two letters, A and I. And David, I'm sorry, this is all David's fault. I'm going to throw it in his corner. How to use AI in sales proposals. AI, meaning
it comes about because I mean, obviously, I look at a lot of proposals. You know, I see a lot of proposals. Oh, can you check this? We just got sent this. What do you think of this? All of that kind of stuff. And a little bit like music, we're both into music. Computer generated, AI generated music, you know, is again, it's here to stay. I've got an events business, as followers of this, and people that know me will know. And I actually got a request the other day for an AI generated piece of music. The thing is,
kind of flies against everything you stand for.
Well, I mean, look, AI definitely plays its part. It's been playing its part for many years, anyway. You know, I mean, you know, this is a continuum. This is not sort of a one event thing. And then obviously, I don't want to sort of go over old ground that people have heard a lot of before about the human creativity and the human vulnerability and all of these different characteristics that might separate us from the machines. Sometimes, or a lot of the time, in unhelpful ways, but a lot of the time in ways that we cherish.
But we were promised that AI was going to relieve us of all the mundane and the irritating and silly little bits and pieces, but it seems to have instead focused on art and all the things that we do in our spare time.
Yeah, well, look, anything like this is going to any new technology, they'll test on the hardest to test things. I mean, you know, everybody remember perhaps the when computers took over the game of chess and started being able to outwit humans. Okay, so you know, it's no surprise that they're going to go on to the arts, because the arts are the part of our lives which most express our humanity. Yeah,
right.
So there's no surprise there. But what's happened now is that more and more written communication, particularly in the world of sales anyway, is using AI. And, you know, for people that don't know and haven't heard this yet, it is very noticeable. It's so noticeable. I was listening to a podcast recently, a music podcast, and Rick Beato, actually, and we've talked about him before, I think you should watch it. And he talks about how when he plays AI generated music, that he is a professional musician, music producer, can't necessarily figure, we can't always hear whether it's AI or not, but his kids can instantly. You know, that's AI, that's human, that's it. So there's things that his kids are detecting in the music that makes them realize that it's different. Now, you know, I posit that the same can be found in written arts as well, and written communication. And certainly when I'm picking up these proposals and emails as well, and all sorts of other written communication
and posts on
LinkedIn direct messages, it's a fucking robot, mate. Now, as a buyer, does that make it better for me or worse for me in terms of my outcome, getting the solution to my problem?
It's a hard
and
one.
I can't help but feel that a lot of the time it's not going to benefit me as a buyer, right? The fact that a computer has written it. Why? And here's the reason why. And it's the cost of being inauthentic. And the cost of being inauthentic is this. If it's only a computer that is communicating with me about the problems that I face and are looking for solutions to overcome, then the person who's delivering that, or the machine that's delivering that solution, is not going to get the right solution. It's going to need somebody to make a decision. Now, at some point in the future, that somebody could be a computer. I've got no problem with that. But today, when I see these proposals that are AI generated, they're not authentically trying to solve a problem. What they're trying to do is to get a buyer to tick a box, or to nod their heads, or to sign a contract.
It's using a computer to say what they think the other person's going to want to hear, not
Correct.
what is actually going to happen.
Correct. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean we can't use AI, right? And we can. It's a great time-saving tool, potentially. And this really sort of goes into your expertise as well, Gareth, which is how to use it. How do I use AI in sales proposals? I mean, why would we want to use it? Well, same old reasons. We'd want to use it to be able to become more efficient, and, you know, just speed things up, expedite things, make things a little less arduous on the humans, so the humans can just do the important bits.
I'm not against AI. I may sound like I'm against it. I'm against generative AI that removes the ability of the human to think through and provide solutions that the actual other person wants, as opposed to coming up with something just to fill the right spaces. However, I have started using something called, and this is, forgive me for promoting, Fathom.
Fathom.
Fathom. Now, Fathom does something that you particularly love, David. It's a very, very accurate note taker. So if we were having a discussion, it produces an accurate summary, and then does one extra thing that I particularly love. All the summary lines that it breaks down, all the agreements that were made, all the follow-up times, whatever, it does a link back to the portion of the video where that was said. So therefore you can say, well, I didn't say that. Well, look, here it is, and click on that link, and there's you saying it. So that from that point of view, now that sort of thing I think is brilliant, but it's not actually injecting, it's not trying to create something new from it. All it's doing is it's accurately understanding all the tittle, because it can waffle on about all sorts of stuff, but it literally summarized it properly. Now, that would form the part of a sales proposal, I would think, for someone, because I can say, as agreed in our original discussion, here it is, bang, 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 bang. That's fine.
And we have talked many times about taking good notes.
That's why I thought that's the sort of thing you'd love. Because that's
one, I don't know if it's Fathom that is used on Zoom, or you can apply it to Zoom, Teams, and all of that kind of thing.
I've linked my Fathom to my Zoom. So when it starts up, the first thing it does is it notes it. You can cancel it at any time. But while it's going, it means I can just relax. I don't have to worry about writing notes, because my notes can become very illegible if I'm not very, very careful. And not only that, as I'm giving them my full attention, I'm literally focusing entirely on them and not focusing on, did I make that G readable so I can read it later? So that from that, it's opened up my world. In fact, it's helped me close 2 or 3 deals recently, purely because I could point out exactly what I said and deliver on those points. And it was brilliant. Here's my problem, though. If you're using, for instance, you take that content and you feed that content into generative AI and say, now produce me a proposal based on that, and make sure that it doesn't offer too much of this, but it does offer some of that, and perhaps even has within it the portion where we can say, and we can bolt on this and that if you wanted to, that would make it extra. If you do that, if you're not careful, you remove any form of humanity from that process. And then you end up with them responding to it using AI, and that is the death of the death knell of the whole.
Well, look, we have covered that actually before as well. I mean, I've had personally a situation where I got into a conversation with somebody's AI chatbot and ended up getting very close to doing a deal with them, in a deal that they wouldn't have wanted to do. Yeah, and they and they switched it off at that point.
You should have done it just to prove a point.
Well, I mean, it's I mean, I knew what I was doing. I knew who I was talking to. I knew I was talking to a robot, and and I could take it down a particular route and get it to agree to almost anything. I mean, just a little bit of practice. I don't know if folks out there have been watching this, have been playing around with this stuff, but it's not that difficult to steer these chatbots into promising almost anything. All right, so people that are using that, be very, very careful. But specifically with composing a proposal, and these can be quite sort of long, in-depth, time-consuming documents to write. So, yes, we want to try and remove some of the grunt work, right? We want to be able to use those parts of AI which can save us time. And there are ways of doing that. And, and we've talked about it in other contexts before as well. But really here we're talking about writing good prompts, so we can get the AI, and it's not generative AI. This is the distinction here. This is just using the machine to do our work for us. We're not asking it necessarily to recreate new stuff that hasn't been thought of before. So we write a good prompt. We could give it a list of bullets, cover this, this, and this. Write it in my style. And organize it into bullets, or however you want it to do, paragraph by paragraph if you want, chapter by chapter, just the pricing section, just the executive summary. Write that good prompt and then edit what you're getting as the output. And those two elements in that creation that you retain control of, prompting and editing, those are like the killer apps when it comes to using AI to save yourself a lot of time writing these long documents.
I think there's these are both going to be positions in a company in the future: prompt writing and the editor, prompt editing, and two levels of it. In the same way as when you write a book, you've got the writer and the editor as well. And I think the death will soon be here of the short prompt. Produce me a bunny sitting on a horse. That I think that's going to be for the birds very soon. I think what we're going to end up with is 4, 5, 6 line prompt describing in detail what the outcome's going to be, what the appearance is going to be, and even after you've done that, you're going to edit the output so that it injects you into it. You've got to be present in there. And I think if there's no essence of human in there, then as David said, it will stand out like a sore thumb, especially to the people who are attuned to it. Your friends' kids who can spot the AI generated music. I think it's going to become the norm that people are going to play spot the ball with generative music, with generative AI. And I think I'm already there on LinkedIn. I can spot a LinkedIn post from a mile off. What gets my dander up is what really slices my lemons is when I see people using AI to respond, to write comments on a post, because then you've got this concept of AI generated post, AI generated answer. There's no authenticity in that at all. And also, if I know the people well, and I do know quite a few of them quite well, and I know how they write, and I look at that and thinking, that's not you at all, mate. You're writing like a school teacher from the 1940s with a pole up your ass.
And I think one of the reasons why it matters is because if I want to buy stuff from Gareth Wax, there's a million people that do lead generation and LinkedIn profiles and stuff. But if I like the Gareth Wax methodology, I want Gareth Wax, and the trouble with everybody or with a lot of people using AI is that everything becomes very, very similar.
Right.
Very little differentiation.
You look to your fingers and everything looks pretty much the same. And the problem with that is you create what I refer to as the great blandification of LinkedIn. It's everything becomes a bit more Magnolia, a bit more formless, a bit more samey. And here's the problem: you're putting content in this case. Sorry, I'm going to get on my orange box for 2 seconds. What you're doing is you're taking an environment where a lot of people are writing textual and rich format stuff out there, hoping that people will read it. And nobody wants to read stuff that's inauthentic. They really don't. They get to 3 ways in which you can do X. Yeah, fair enough. And you get to point 2 and thinking, no human ever wrote this. And you're thinking, well, does it really apply to me then? Well, probably not. Let's pass it by. And that is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Very soon you'll be swathes and swathes of crap, and all you'll be looking for is the occasional cat video.
Yeah. And there are other dangers ahead as well for people that become too reliant on it, which is that they lose the ability to communicate with themselves, and also lose the ability to intervene when they need to. Quick example: I have a client whose systems went down the other day. Yeah.
Yikes. Right.
Now, if they are just using AI, or if they are too reliant on AI for their communications, what are they going to do when it comes to, well, I have to pick up the phone, or a client phones up at that point? They're just not going to have a clue as to what's been going on. The sheer act, and I recognize the value of those note takers, but even those I'm suspicious about, because the sheer act of physically writing down what somebody has said, we're doing that not just to demonstrate that we've listened, but to make us actually listen, right? It forces us to process what they've told them. When I say to somebody, if they'd said something that's particularly pertinent, I go, whoa, hang on a second, I'm going to write that down. That sounds like an important point. And I write it down, I repeat it back to them and say, you just said this. Can I just clarify that's what you meant? These are sort of crucial bits of a sales conversation,
right,
which really uncover things like, what is really keeping them up at night? Things like what really is their ideal solution to that problem.
The problem is going to be, I think, that you're going to end up with account managers, and you go to the account manager and say, so your client number 3, what's their biggest issue that you're fixing? I don't know. It says that I'll have to look in the LinkedIn note, in the AI notes, and find out from them what they think it is, and we're going to end up with that degree of separation away from what it is. The last thing I think that anyone in sales wants is to this is interesting. This is another existential problem. Do we want the bulk of transactional sales to be taken over by AI?
Well, I mean, transactional sales.
I want 40 print cartridges, please. How much are they? They are at this fixed price. Okay, then where do I press the button? Right. Yeah. So we are on the road to the printer saying I've run out of print.
Mm.
The CRM system saying, have all the other printers run out of ink? Or they're running out of ink? They are. Right, we should put an order in. Putting an order in, I'd like 40 print cartridges. What's your price today? There it is. Here's the money. And with removing human interactivity out of that.
Yeah.
Which this is the direction of travel.
Look, I mean, it's a grey line that separates what is transactional, what is utility. I prefer to think of these things as utility versus something that is a bit more.
Isn't that just semantic?
Think of as requiring a consultative sell?
Right.
I mean,
right.
When things are utility, I've no issue with that, but that's not my market. I don't purport to be an expert in selling the utility thing. I mean, I have a lot of clients that do sell what they describe as utility services, commercial energy brokers, for example, commercial telecom brokers, commercial,
Right.
commercial insurance brokers.
Yeah.
And then that's where relationships play their part, human to human relationships. But, in terms of, getting the telecoms kit, and I need 100 handsets, do I need to be that involved with that? They're not necessarily strategic decisions. They can be if, as our green room conversation went, that people were not party to, if it forms part of an overall offering, an integrated offering where there's going to be a bit of this, a bit of that. I mean, in my events business, throwing an event together, yes, there's some raw materials there, like a venue, like caterers, like entertainment. But there's some other factors as well, little sort of details here and there. What are we going to eat? When are we going to eat it? Who's going to speak? What kind of music are we going to play? And it's if you look at it holistically, then we can start getting closer to the desired overall outcome. As soon as you start picking bits apart and saying, right, we need to have the best chips as part of the meal, and you start like focusing on the chips and getting the best deal on the chips, the best flavored chips, the crunchiest, vinegariest chips, then
I have to say, I wish more people would focus on the chips. Would you summarize?
Some of the best chips in town in Boreham Wood actually come from a pizza store called Ellie's Pizza. It's a kosher pizza place, and they do incredible chips that rival any fish and chippy chips. And it's a reason to go there. But clearly, for whatever reason, maybe the owners like chips. They put some effort into it. But they would not be able to do that if they were to plug into AI. What is the best way to create a kosher pizza store? It just would not feature.
It wouldn't feature at all.
Right? So and I can extrapolate that out, especially to business services sales, which is my speciality, and I know you spend a lot of time with, where people's brains and know-how and lived experiences and the offerings that they've developed with considerable effort and expertise, really, you're going to get AI to write a proposal about that? Of course you're not. Because you're not going to be able to differentiate yourself. But what you can do to save the grunt work is to write detailed, thought through prompts. Spend a quarter of the time that you would have spent on writing the whole proposal on writing the prompts and editing it afterwards. You still saved yourself a huge amount of time, but it's still going to be authentically you.
All right. Well, look, thank you very much, David, once again. Your video's gone all fuzzy. I don't know why. I don't know whether you've got it's gone a bit better now. It's all right. Stay still. It's great. Once again, thank you, David, for coming together with me to rip apart why people shouldn't just use AI without thought, and try and say to people, I'd say overall, apply human thinking to the way you're using this tool. Remember, you're still trying to affect an overall human process. If you just throw it over to the machines, you'll end up with an anodyne Magnolia type scenario, and that's not what any of us want, I don't think. Thank you once again, David, and to all of you out there, try and use AI with the intelligence it deserves to make it really great. And that goes for sales, and it certainly goes for prompts. Until the next time we speak, I'll keep your feet on the ground, keep you reaching for the stars, and look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.